and welcome back to another episode of the Sports for Dummies podcast. This podcast is perfect for you if you know everything about sport or absolutely nothing. My name is Hope Ellen and I am joined every week by my wonderful, the nicest person I've ever met, sports guru, Lewis Pearce. Lewis, hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Oh, it's very kind of you, Hope. Thank you very much.
It's true, by the way. Nicest person I've ever met in my life. I don't think you've got a bad bone in your body.
Thank you. It's very kind. Yeah. How are you? What's going down in this sweaty weather?
Do you know what? It's not too bad actually. I've had my fan on, so I think there's still some air circulating.
Yeah.
Around. Right. Yesterday was lovely though, wasn't it? I was like, right, I'm going to go to the gym, and then just as I'd finished work and was like, right, let's go to the gym now. My dad lit the barbecue. And once you smell that sweet smell of the coals going, it's like, well, I'm not going now, am I? Let's be honest.
Yeah, but no chance.
I'm good. How are you, Mr. COVID?
Good. I'm all right. I'm over COVID. I beat it in 5 days, which is good news. Thankfully, I had a blocked nose, so it sounded a little bit weird. It sounded a bit worse for wear, but actually, I'm all right. We got through it. Although the only thing is, a lot of people were texting me like, oh, it must be crap, being inside in this weather. But actually, it was lovely because I could isolate outside in the sunshine. Although, that just made me want to go out even more. But I'm now here and it's all fine. I've lived to tell the tale. And so we're rocking and rolling.
And that's obviously why there was no episode last week, because although Lewis wasn't feeling too awful, he was sounding a little bit like this.
Yeah, and if people listening at home, whether you're on YouTube, on any of our streaming platforms, it would have just sounded dreadful. And I thought I'd rather not put you through it if I sound like Squidward from SpongeBob. So I just thought there was no point me doing an episode sounding like that.
You had his energy levels too, didn't you?
Yeah, the thing was, Hope, it's weird. Like, COVID's really odd because some people, one of my mates got it at the same time as me too. She's had fever, cough, headache, all the symptoms. She's still really unwell now, and I think she's about 9 or 10 days on. And I had it in 5, and I was absolutely fine. So it's really weird how different bodies react to it and stuff. And equally, like, I could smell and taste everything, so I didn't have any issues with that. It was literally just sounding a little bit like Squidward, and that was it.
There we go. They should add that to the NHS symptoms. Do you sound like Squidward? You've probably got COVID.
Tick, yeah, big tick. Although at one point, when I first had it, I actually thought it was, I thought it was just sort of hay fever or whatever. But the thing that gave it away when I did my research, so I was in the gym on Wednesday. So sorry for anyone in the gym at the same time as me when I had COVID. Not ideal, wasn't it?
You didn't know.
No, exactly. But I was actually squatting and my legs were really, really sore, but like abnormally sore. And one of the pains you get is aches in your body. Now, my uncle has also got COVID all the way in Australia, and the only symptom he's had is really sore legs. So I wonder if this new variant that they've got causes serious muscle aches. Because honestly, getting in my car, I look like a 90-year-old man, like wobbling in. It was awful.
Because I like the feeling when you've had a good leg day. I mean, to be honest, I haven't had it for years because I don't really work that hard in the gym. But the feeling I used to get where your legs are like wobbly, wobbly, wobbly when you walk into the car, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Not achy, breaky heart.
No, I was like literally walking along. I thought I was going to topple over. Literally getting in the car, sitting there, with my little steering wheel. Honestly, you would have thought I was like a 78-year-old bloke called David. It was awful. But anyway, it's all fine now.
Why David?
Well, I made the name up. Or Marcus, whatever.
Gerald.
It's just some old bloke that's got sore legs. But anyway, we're here now, so it's good.
We're here now. And can I say also, I'm loving that we're on YouTube now because people can actually see your actions.
Yes,
because you are quite an action man. And now people can actually appreciate it rather than having me go, ha ha, that's funny. Yeah, they can see it for themselves.
Exactly. We're here. But I hope on something as well positive, following on from my story, I guess we're going straight on to story number 1. We're talking about the Lionesses.
Yes, you watched this last night. I saw a snippet because my dad was watching it a little bit. And when I saw the score, it was 3-0.
Yeah.
Have I just ruined the story?
No.
Okay, go.
Do you know what the final score was, Hope? Have you seen?
No.
It was 8-0. It ended 8-0. It's the biggest scoreline ever at a women's Euros tournament. At half-time, it was 6-0.
We mopped the floor with them.
Oh, it was an absolute annihilation. So they're now, Hope, they're done. Quarterfinals, they've ticked it off. They've got a game against Northern Ireland on Friday, which is a dead rubber. So basically just means nothing. I'm sure they'll rotate and stuff. But it was absolutely mental. And as the 7th goal went in, all the fans are singing, "Football's coming home." I mean, seriously, it was a performance like no other. And the ladies should be so proud of themselves.
I don't want to take away from the victory, but I have to ask the question. Did we win because we were so great, or did we win because the team we were against weren't so cracky.
Well, do you know what, Hope? It's actually quite interesting saying that because Norway were actually tipped to be one of the strongest teams. And I wrote a stat saying, I need to, where did it go?
Where is the stat?
I lost it. People actually said for this game, this was the hardest game in England's group since the 2019 World Cup, and this would decide who would top Group A. Now, obviously, going off this scoreline, you'd never think that, but England's first game they played against Austria, they were a bit lackluster. It was a bit slow, kind of like wasn't, you could tell they were just getting into the tournament. This looked as if they'd been playing for weeks. Like this was absolutely unbelievable. So I think it goes both ways. There's no denying that Norway absolutely capitulated. And John Arne Riise, who's an ex-Liverpool player, the pundit at half-time, he's Norwegian, and he was absolutely seething with their performance. I mean, he was so angry with how poor they played. But it's one of those things, Hope, when the first goal goes in, I think they just dropped, their heads just dropped and they completely lost motivation. And the trouble is, when you're playing against a side like England, who have so many good players all across the field, it's really hard to match that, especially when you know that it's going to be wave of attack after attack after attack. And it didn't stop.
And your confidence just goes. I think in all situations in your life, no matter what, the mind is so powerful and the mind can completely ruin something, even if you've got the skills, you've got the talent, you've got the physicalness. If mindset goes, then you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got a good team. Like, they do have a really decent team on paper. They've got a good manager too. And it just so happened that they just capitulated. It was as if they'd never played a game before. So it goes both ways. England were unbelievable. Norway weren't good at all. But yeah, Georgia Stanway opens the scoring in the 12th minute from the penalty spot. And literally from that point on, it was literally curtains. I went outside. What was I doing? I was on the phone. I was on the phone to my boss from work because I was talking to him about my work schedule. So I actually missed. I saw the first goal go in, and then I was on the phone for about 25, 30 minutes, whatever it was. Came back in at half time, 6-0. And you look at the score and you're going, what the flip is going on?
Were your parents watching it? Did you say to them, what is going on?
No, so my dad walked through the door. He'd cycled home from work. My mum was out working. Dad cycled home, and he walks in the door and goes, "It's 6-0 already!" It's like, because it's unbelievable, and it was an amazing achievement from the ladies. They should be really, really proud of themselves. So, I mean, it was great. And the other nice thing as well was the support on Twitter from all the different pundits and fans and stuff. But also, even at the ground, at the end of the game, they all stood in front of the stand where their families were, holding hands, singing "Sweet Caroline," and then did a lap of honour. Yeah, it's really sweet. It was really nice to see.
So, for you, Lewis, who was a star player?
The thing is, in games like that, it's like, how do you nail down to be fair, for me, Beth Mead, hat-trick scorer of the night. She is an unbelievable footballer. Like, oh goodness, I can't remember, was it the first or second goal she scored? It was like watching, she literally dribbled around the entire team. It was like watching I don't know how to explain. It's like watching a magician. It was Messi-esque. It was properly just weaving in and out of everybody. And I really like England's striker, who's called Ellen White. She's like an out-and-out number 9, great striker, kind of England's focal point in attack. She's an unbelievable player. And Lucy Bronze at right. I mean, there's loads of good players.
He's got 3 star players.
It is, but it's like it feels weird to say because for 2 reasons. That especially growing up as an England fan, and I mean, I'm not the biggest England, but even still,
you haven't got a bulldog tattoo on your arm just yet.
No, I haven't. It doesn't say Brexit means Brexit either. I'm not. That's not me. But I think for the most part, like growing up as an England fan, you talk to your parents about the generations they've had in England teams, both men and women, and I can't remember a time ever in my life, and there probably won't be again, where the men's and women's teams are absolutely unbelievable. Like at this current moment in time, the men's England team and the women's England team are incredible.
I'd like to see men versus women.
Would you?
Yeah.
See, Hope, I've got some stats for you about that. I think you'd be slightly. I mean, again, I understand why. I get it. The thing that I'd say, Hope, more than anything, it's not about being better or worse. The truth about men's and women's football is they are 2 different games, and that's it. There's no 2 ways about it. It's not that one is better than the other. It's simply that the style of football, the pace of football, and how the game operates is just different. And so it's like trying to bring in. It's a bit like when you watch. You see things online about sumo wrestler fights smallest boxer ever or whatever. It's like that because it's just 2 different worlds. You can't kind of cross.
But then I'd be interested to know as to why that is, because the rules aren't any different, are they? So is it a case of maybe men are pushed into football more? Obviously that's changing and that's evolving. Is it because the men are celebrated more do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the difference isn't the rules.
No.
So there's something obviously else going on there that makes them, as you say, a different game because they're the same game.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. I think as well, it's about the truth is, Hope, and there's no two ways about it, that the fact that women's football was banned not only in the UK, but around the world for so long, that has had a detrimental impact on their game. And that's not to take anything away from the football, because it's now at a brilliant, brilliant standard. It's more just that there is so far for the women's game to grow in terms of revenue, in terms of investment, in terms of fans participation, whatever that is. As we've spoken about before in previous episodes, there is so far to catch up. And so it's like the women's game, if you compare them, the women's game is, well, if people look at it from a comparison point of view, it's constantly chasing. But the way that I like to see it, exactly, it is. And there's no two ways about that. Yeah. But the way that I like to see it is that a bit like Messi and Ronaldo, you always have a preference. There'll always be one that you might enjoy more than the other. But just appreciate them both. Appreciate women's football, appreciate men's football for what they are, and don't compare and don't say, oh, well, what if actually... Because to be fair, it would be awesome to have a game where it would be a women's team against a men's team, or a mixed team against them, or whatever it was.
And the reason I say that is to highlight the female talent more. That's the reason I'd want to see that. Not because I want to see who's better. It's more that I want to showcase that women are just as good as the men. But as you say,
absolutely.
What you're basically saying, if we look between the lines, is they're not as good.
I don't agree with that. I don't think so. I think they are good, but I think the truth is that they are just different games. Like, the men's game is more physical. The style of football is different too. When you look at the speed of football as well, the women's game is much snappier. It's much faster. Men's football might be slow, but I don't know. I mean, I think there are lots of reasons why games are different, and equally, I think it's the same as comparing, say, I don't know, women's basketball versus men's basketball, or it's just one of those things. But either way, it's a very interesting conversation. But I'm just very proud of the Lionesses, and hopefully they can now go all the way. What
is crazy is the fact that women kicking a ball was banned.
Yeah, it was banned until, oh goodness, I can't remember the stat, but it's only like...
But that's just like, I know there's still a long way to go for equality in all walks, but isn't that just insane to think that there would be people saying you can't do that sport?
No, it's remarkable. It's
what? It's just...
I've just had a search, Hope. I thought I was gonna guess it, but I wasn't entirely sure. I was right in the end. So the FA lifted women playing football in 1971, which is, I mean, remarkable in the grand scheme of things. I think that's, was that 51 years. And that's the difference.
I'm sure in other countries it's still banned.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very confident.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. But to say, Hope, and they're having women playing football, of course, for that time, but that just means professionally. And when you think the Football League was set up back in the 1800s, that's the difference. That's why the games are at different places, because one has only existed for 51 years and the other one's been around for double that.
And they may well have been playing it, whether that is within their community or what have you, but it's not taken seriously until it's actually given the green light.
No, exactly. And I'm just glad, though, that this tournament has really just highlighted how great women's football is. And I just hope it continues. And hopefully there can be more record attendances for different games and fans turning up. Because I tell you what, Hope, if England do get to the final, it will be absolute scene, especially at Wembley too. It would be brilliant. So
that's where it would happen, Wembley?
Yes, yeah. So the tournament is being hosted in England. So it's all across the UK, from Brighton to Brentford to Wembley to Sheffield. It's all across, which is wicked.
Lovely stuff. There we go. I don't know if it's our next story, but just a little nod to Wimbledon.
Yes, because we're actually saying that. We would have spoken about that had I not got the old Rona. But yes, good old Wimbledon. Did you watch the final of either the men's and women's game, Hope?
I saw snippets of it, and I saw the bit where he was going, that lady's had 700 drinks, get her out.
No, yeah. That lady said 700 drinks, bro. It was just typical Aussie.
That was much better than my impression. So yeah, that was good. So well done to Djokovic.
Yeah, Djokovic, 21 slams, unbelievable player. Nick Kyrgios, I mean, Hope, he's an interesting character, isn't he? I really liked him. And is he
like Marmite a bit?
Yeah, he's a proper Marmite character. You either love him and you love the fact that he's this character, or you don't and you can't stand how he plays. Some of it is annoying. Like, there are times where it was, but the moments like that, the 700 drinks, bro, that's what tennis needs. That's what a lot of sport needs, is a breath of fresh air. Because so many players nowadays are these robotic players that, and regardless of what you think of him behind the scenes off the court, this is specifically on the court, him playing tennis, because I know that he has controversies off the court, but specifically on court.
Yeah, well, so does Djokovic for not getting vaccinated.
Yeah, there are lots of issues with lots of
I think
players.
there's a lot of athletes, well, a lot of people within the public eye who are just sometimes so afraid of how the media can twist something that they are always wanting to be squeaky clean. And that actually makes them, sometimes it actually stops them from being personable.
Yeah.
Because they become this robotic person. Whereas, look, let the media do what they want.
Yeah.
I say this now. One day I might be like, stop it writing about me. But right now it's like, just do it. People are always going to say something no matter what you're doing. And whether you're a public figure or whether you're just some random person living in a town, people are always going to say something good or bad. So just be yourself.
Yeah, and just enjoy stuff.
As long as you're not hurting anyone else or upsetting anyone else.
Yeah, but like Nick Kyrgios, like, you know, he's an outward, you know, he's very outward. You know, he's a very forward thing. Like, the forward thing is the wrong word. Sorry. He's very honest. You know, he's got no filter. He is just him. He is Nick Kyrgios, and there's no two ways about it. Yeah, and the thing I like too, Hope, is that there's something about him and his fieriness. I think that a lot of people complain about kind of his style of tennis, the fact he winds up opponents, he gets in their head. But actually, at the end of the day, it's tactical. And he didn't do it as much with Djokovic. And I think that's because he was on centre court. You know, that was the biggest game of the year for him, of course. Biggest game of his life, because that's the first time he's ever made a final. Probably could be the last, possibly. Hope not, but you never know. But, you know, he didn't do it as much with Djokovic, and I think that was because they have mutual respect. But when you watched him in previous games, even against someone like Tsitsipas, who he played, that was a proper mind game, like getting into your head, winding you up.
It also makes it more entertaining. So it might be tactical in terms of him getting a certain recognition. Because if you're exciting and you're entertaining, I mean, let's be honest, the sports industry is an entertainment industry. So the more entertaining you are, the more airtime you're going to get, the more people are going to talk about you. So
Absolutely.
It might be tactical in that way as well. Question about Wimbledon, because I saw a shot of all the different courts outside of it. So this centre court, is that the one that people go to watch and they don't watch the other games? Because it didn't look like there was any seats on the other courts.
So how it works, Hope, is that the money you pay for centre court, the whole point of it is that if you buy a ticket for Wimbledon, there are different courts for different things. So as an example, if you buy, I can't remember exactly how it works, but to put it roughly, so can't quote me, but you can buy a day pass, which basically means you can attend any of the outside courts. So that's any of the courts you see. You know, when there's like they have like wide shots or drone shots they might have. There are just standard courts on their own and people are standing there. They've bought day passes, so they can attend any event they'd like to, except for centre court. So centre court and there's a couple of other main courts, I can't remember what they're called, but they are all paid for. So you have to pay for them, and then you're there for the day. So you can stay there for the day, you can watch all the matches. But equally, if you've bought a centre court ticket, you can also attend another game. I believe that's how it works.
Okay. There we go. Never been to Wimbledon myself.
No, I haven't either.
Maybe one day we'll get invited.
Let's hope. Although, this thing for you, Hope, we'll leave it at that before we move on to story number 2, is that I want you to guess how much a ticket for Wimbledon centre court men's final is.
Oh, do you know what? I literally was out on I was out on Saturday morning. I was out on Saturday morning at 4 a.m. actually. Not drunk, just
just have out.
I haven't told you my story actually. So we'll go on to that in a minute, but I was out walking with people and they were talking about the price of them. I can't remember what price they said, but I know it was ridiculous.
Yeah, £12,000 for one ticket. Mental. Anyway, tell us your story.
Okay, so I went to the weigh-in on Friday for Chisora Pulev.
Yeah.
2. It was a rematch after 6 years. Really exciting. Great venue. It was at Canary Wharf, but it was lovely. I love when Matchroom do, because they'd often do Canary Wharf when the show's in London. And Canary Wharf is like, it's the part of London where kind of takes your breath away a little bit. Reminds me of New York with all the big buildings.
Very,
do you know what I mean?
Cool.
Very New Yorky.
Yeah, and you've got all the clocks. It's wicked. Very, very cool place.
Very, very cool. Also, fun fact, my dad's cousin owns all of the newspaper shops in Canary Wharf.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
There we go. Little fun fact. Anyway, back to my story. So I went to this weigh-in and I'd bought a train ticket as a return because I was planning to go to the weigh-in and then you have to hang out at the Fighters Hotel for a bit and see if you get any more interviews. And I was planning to leave by like 6 o'clock and get home.
Right.
Well, went to the weigh-in, done some more interviews in the hotel lobby, and then went for a wine, which turned into a few more wines. Went to Weatherspoons, which turned into obviously a few more rums and Jaeger bombs. Anyway, as you can tell, the night went on. I underestimated how long it would take me to get from Canary Wharf to King's Cross. It's actually 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And my last train was at like 11. In the scheme of things, when you're having a drink and you're having fun, you're probably not going to make that, especially because I looked at the time at 20 past 10 and I was like, well, I've missed that. It's going to take me 40 minutes. Anyway, so I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? But at this time I was a little bit tipsy still, so I didn't really mind. It wasn't until I got back at the hotel, because everyone was offering me their rooms to stay in and all this. But obviously, because it's a male-dominated field, most of the people I was with were men that night. And I didn't think it was going to be a very good idea to stay in one of their rooms, even if totally honest and just kind and just wanting to look out for me. Do you know what I mean? It's sometimes no. So in the end, and I messaged a few friends, but it was after 12 o'clock at this point. So I also looked at hotels like Premier Inn, and I know East London very well, like Stratford. And I thought, I'll stay in Stratford because I know it's a fast train to King's Cross in the morning. But it was after 12 o'clock, and obviously you can't book a hotel after 12 o'clock, can you? Because it's not going to work. So I went to the Fighters Hotel, went to the front desk, and I was like, hi, have you got any rooms? I don't mind if it's a cupboard. Like, I'll sleep anywhere. Guess how much the room that they had was?
Oh, Hope. It's like the thing in France I had in Paris. It probably like £400. I mean, it's going to be something stupid, isn't it?
£2,000, Lewis. The only room they had was the presidential suite. £2,000. Now, I've got £2,000, but do I want to spend it in a hotel where I'm not even going to enjoy the luxuriousness of it? No. Anyway, this guy behind the desk, absolute gem of a person. His name was Jeff. At this point, I was totally sober because I was like, obviously thinking, what am I going to do? Prior to this, we'd been in the hotel having drinks and everyone there from Matron was there. And I saw a sofa that was very comfy. I was tired and I fell asleep for like 2 hours. So I'd been a bit rested. Anyway, he goes to me. I don't normally do this. This is Jeff. I don't normally do this, but I'll make an exception. You can sleep in the hotel lobby. Now, when we say hotel lobby, we don't mean just like crappy travel lodge. This is bougie as this place, Canary Wharf Plaza. The sofa was so comfortable. He gave me a toothbrush and toothpaste. I slept on this sofa for a bit longer, had the lobby to myself. Then someone called Jimmy, who's a security guard who I met, lovely guy, shout out to Jimmy. He comes and we're chatting for ages, just about life, just general stuff about his like little kids and blah, blah. And then at like 4 a.m, David, I always get his name wrong, David Diamante, dreadlock man who does the ring announcing.
Yeah.
He came down and I've known David. I met him last time in Cardiff. Anyway, he'd been asleep because he had jet lag because he come from New York. So he was like, I'm going to go for a walk. Apparently there's a really, I should do his accent really. There's a really cool no, I can't do it. There's a really cool ice rink in Canary Wharf. Apparently the views are amazing. The ice rink will be shut, but the views are so good. Do you want to come find it? So at 4 a.m, I'm walking around Canary Wharf with David Diamante, security guard Jimmy, and that was my night. And then I just stayed up till the earliest train at 20 to 6.
That is an unbelievable Hope. That is class. Well, what a story that is. So both you and me over the last 2-3 months, whatever it is, have both nearly had all-nighters because we've either messed up train times or we've not had a hotel room. So we've done well, actually, both of us there. Wow.
Nightmare. But I mean, yeah, I was like, I really regret having that wine. Because normally with these things, I'm like, I'll go out for drinks because I'm like, it's good to network.
Yeah.
But the people I was drinking with are friends. They're not They're not going to help me in my career. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, why did I even do that? But anyway, it was a fun night. David's a lovely man. And so's Jimmy.
Was the actual view good? Was it a great view?
No, it was awful. So we were looking around for this ice rink for about an hour. We went up, I don't know if you know, I don't know where it is, but in Canary Wharf, there's like that kind of like sky jungle-y
The
thing.
Sky Tower. It's called Sky Tower. Yeah. It's
so
amazing.
we went up there thinking maybe the ice rink's up here. We couldn't obviously go in there because it was locked up.
Yeah.
But David was very impressed by it. And him and Jimmy were going up the escalators the wrong way and challenging me to do it. And I couldn't do it. We had a lot of fun. Anyway, we found it in the end. And it was basically one of those makeshift ice rinks that go up at Christmas on a bit of grass.
Oh, dear. Right.
So we were like, It was just a patch of grass. And yeah, there were big buildings around, but there wasn't like a view of London or like the skyline
No.
or... So it was quite disappointing. But we sat down, we had a chat. David had a cigar, telling us old stories about life, which I won't expose on here. But yeah, it was
Amazing.
a very good night. It was fun.
What a great little like impromptu evening that was. I'm glad it was all okay for you in the end. How fun is that?
And we've digressed from Sports for Dummies podcast, but there you go. Fun little story. That's what life's all about.
Count so it was sports related, but yeah, we'll move on to story number 2.
Yes, please, because there's going to be a lot of editing for me if not.
Yeah, there's a slightly less. This is a less happy. This is not a happy story, to be honest. This is a quite a disappointing story. It's a very disappointing story, I should say. Yeah, it's a very disappointing story. So Hope, we're talking about Max Verstappen and calling out alcohol consumption at the F1 races for the Austrian Grand Prix on Sunday. Have you heard any news about this?
No.
Right. So, unfortunately, Hope, lots and lots, and I was amazed in the worst way at the amount of stories that popped up on my Twitter timeline, as in completely befuddled at how this has all happened so suddenly. So there were loads of reports that emerged online after the race had taken place. The race was in Austria, it was the Red Bull Ring, and there were hundreds of reports, and I say hundreds, there were loads of reports of sexual harassment, homophobic, racist abuse that emerged on social media of people attending the race. And there were all sorts of news stories that come out that I won't say on here because they're absolutely awful and they're just disgusting, but of women being abused and people being abused for their sexuality. And
this was fans on fans.
Yes, but it wasn't just that too. It was fans on fans, but it was also the drivers, because so there were 60,000 fans that went to this event that were from the Netherlands. Now, I'm not blaming the Dutch fans at all. I'm not saying it's them. I'm just making this point. So 60,000 Dutch fans went because Max Verstappen, the lead driver for Red Bull, is Dutch. And so because it's obviously the Red Bull Ring, it attracts Dutch fans. So 60,000 went. Lewis Hamilton, for the qualifying on Friday, crashed his car. So he literally, driving along, went into the barrier. And as he was skidding along, loads of fans literally cheered, as in properly cheered that he'd crashed, without kind of knowing the circumstances of what happened. Thankfully, Lewis was all okay in the end.
Been dead.
Yeah, but exactly, it could have been that they stand up and cheer, and he goes straight to the barrier, and something terrible could have happened. So Max has come out and said these things, as in alcohol. So these things, alcohol, can be regulated. There's a certain amount of alcohol a person should have until it's time to go to bed and wake up sober the next morning, because if you start to go crazy, you can do stupid things. Now, the F1 bosses have started an investigation into this whole process, but it just begs the question, Hope, should alcohol be allowed at sporting events because of stupid things and ridiculously awful actions that people take for things like this?
So when you first introduced the story, I didn't know obviously I didn't know anything about it because I've been living in a hole, clearly. I thought you were going to say that Max Verstappen had alcohol when he was driving.
No. So
the link that him and this whole thing is the fact that he's saying all of that bad stuff happened because people were too drunk.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, it links back to what we said about Wimbledon with that 700 drinks, bro. Okay, a more minor situation, but again, it links into alcohol at these events. I mean, obviously, I go to fight nights now. There's always a fight that kicks off, whether that's alcohol related or probably just a bit of testosterone, and they think they can have a go. They see Tyson Fury thinking he could do it, and then they think, I can do that better than Tyson. Whether it's that or probably a little bit of alcohol, bit of both, perhaps. It's a big question, but people are going to be reluctant to, as in people who own the hospitality venues are going to be reluctant to put any rules in place, because I'm assuming that's where they make the most of their profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, Hope, that the questions that's the thing that, unfortunately, although question marks will be raised, that is where the business is made. It's all about drinking. And to give you an example, when I went to America back in Easter time, I went to football and baseball and all those things. And specifically at football games, drinking isn't banned at the football. So unlike in the UK, you can't drink on the terraces. That's not allowed. So when you see football fans, they'll all get if they do get hammered, they get hammered on the way up there. They then go into the grounds absolutely drunk out their minds. And then
I never knew that was a thing.
Yeah, so because alcohol is banned on the terraces, that's why you don't ever see fans with beer in stadiums, because it's because of the violence it causes.
Right.
You can drink on the concourse, so you can drink out with your... So you
in a bar area, you can go to the toilet and whatever.
Yeah, but you can't drink in the stand.
So this completely kind of eradicates the argument or the point at all, because, okay, if they start banning alcohol at the F1, people are just going to get drunk before they come in.
Yeah.
And okay, there could be security saying, "Oh, you're too drunk." One, they're probably not going to have the numbers of security to be able to control that, because if you're turning away people because they're too drunk, they're going to kick off if they got a ticket. Two people can lie. I mean, I don't know about you, Lewis, but probably not you, Lewis. But when I was a teenager, if I'd go out with my friends and have a drink when I shouldn't have been drinking, and mum and dad didn't know I was drinking, I'd come home, I could very well act sober.
Yeah,
so these people could act sober when they're actually not.
Yeah,
maybe I thought I was good acting. Maybe I was really bad.
No, but you're right.
That's the thing. Alcohol gives you a false sense of security. Do you know what I mean?
But people can, and people do get away with it. But you're right. And even this other incident, as I said about Lewis Hamilton, he said he stated in an interview it was mind blowing that people actually cheered when he crashed. And he then said in an interview afterwards too, it shouldn't matter about your gender, your sexuality, the color of your skin. It should just be everyone there to have a great time. And that's exactly, from Lewis, what it should be. There's no two ways about it. The fact that people go to a race and are abused for the colour of their skin or their sexuality or even who they're supporting. I read one thing saying that Lewis Hamilton fans were being abused by Max Verstappen fans. As you know, there's a bit of a rivalry between the fans. Now, that happens, say, in football with Liverpool, Man United fans or whoever the rivalry is between. But the difference is, Hope, you don't sit together at those games. You are segregated. It does happen. At the F1, it doesn't. And I don't know about any fights. I haven't looked into that. And I also can't, from what I read on Twitter, there didn't seem to be any sort of disagreements between people. But what I certainly do know is that some Lewis Hamilton fans were abused, or Mercedes fans were abused, because they were supporting Lewis. And it's like, it just doesn't make sense. The other thing that blew my mind, Hope, and there'll be images you'll be able to see online. So the 60,000 Dutch fans that did turn up to watch Verstappen, they all set off flares for him. So they've all got flares. And it's like, it kind of blew my mind because pretty much half of the track at one point was literally just covered in smoke. Like you couldn't see anything. And you're sort of sitting there going...
so dangerous.
Yeah, but you're also sitting there going, you've paid how many hundreds of pounds for a ticket? Imagine if you'd gone, you're next to some geezer who's sitting there with his flare going, so what are you doing?
So do that again. Stupid. Do that again, quickly.
He's going, I just don't... I can't compute in my brain. Like, I remember when we went to PSG, when I was there in May time, and the ultra set off flares, and it's fun for a bit, like seeing them and being part of it. And then firstly, it stinks and it's really annoying. Secondly, you breathe it in, and thirdly, can't see anything. So it's like, what's the point? So that epitomises how silly people are.
It's fun for the people. It's fun for the people who have got the flare. And
that's until they burn their hands, though. That's until they burn their hands when they touch the top of it and they set their finger on fire.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah.
Winds me up, but yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about America, because I'm sorry, I did butt in, and I'm wary that the audience might be thinking, well, what was Lewis going to say about America? Hope, could you butted in? What were you going to say about the stands in America?
Well, that was the thing, Hope. So drinking in America, when people were there in front of the actual stand, it was like going to the cricket or wherever. Because at the cricket, you can drink. Say when you in England, you can go to the cricket, you bring your drinks, and you sit there and you watch the games. Now, people get absolutely plastered in the UK, more than in the US, I'd say. I think we have a much bigger drinking culture here. Mm. But there was definitely something about drinking at the football. And it's really hard to explain. But as I think we spoke about before, Hope, the price, I'm sure I did say, but the price of beer at the football was extortionate. And my thought, well, kind of one way that I see it would be, yes, people inevitably, in England, in America, wherever, people are going to get absolutely drunk before games. A minority of people, that is, will go into the game and do that. But I think if you actually introduce beer for the stands, or even just beer in general on the concourse, and charge people £15 a pint, people aren't going to pay that. No one's going to pay and spend extortionate amounts of money. But the difference is, because they're not cheap, like going to England, say at Wembley, it's ridiculously expensive. But I noticed that when you charged more in America, there was much less of a tendency to drink than in the UK. That's the one thing that I can definitely say for sure that I picked up on.
I think, though, it depends if you're already drunk. Because if you're already drunk, your inhibitions go out the window and you don't care how much something costs. If you want a drink, you'll pay for a drink.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean? Back to my Canary Wharf story the other day, I had a moment where I was quite tipsy. So I went back to the hotel and brought everyone around. People I didn't even know. Because I was like, where did I get a drink?
Yeah.
And I haven't even checked how much it was. I didn't even ask how much it was. I just tapped away. So when you have had a drink, your inhibitions go out the window. So even if someone's charging £15, I'm pretty sure some people will still pay that money.
No, they will. And there was a guy,
on.
to be saying that, Hope, there was a bloke that was part of our group in New York. We'll just call him Tom.
Yeah.
But Tom, and he spent hundreds of pounds on beer every single event. And there are people like that, of course. There inevitably are. But there were also boys that I knew there who were massive, massive drinkers. And they would refuse to drink at the sporting events purely because it's so expensive. So I think it goes both ways. But overall, more than just alcohol, I think security needs to be introduced. I think actual people in stands, and whether that's football, F1, whatever, things need to be regulated. Like how, a bit like Nick was saying, it's exactly what Nick was saying. How does someone get in and stay in there that's just absolutely off their nut? I just don't, I do not understand. I just don't get it.
Obviously this drinking thing is a problem everywhere. Because we all know the effects alcohol has. You could be the nicest pie as a person when you're sober, but then have a drink in you and it could turn into like a absolute arse. Arse. That's very British, wasn't it? Could turn into an arse.
You've done right thing,
But in terms of this F1, obviously there was a lot of reports from that particular event, and I'm sure that abuse happens in different places and different sports, but maybe at a smaller level. This obviously sounds like it was a big problem that was happening on a big what's the word?
Scale.
Big scale. That's the level. That's the word, not the level. That's the scale. Could it be as well where it took place? So maybe certain views of that particular country or culture compared to other places. So like in terms of like the homophobia and the racism and the sexual abuse, could that be based on where the event actually took place?
I mean, it could be. I think the truth is, though, Hope, lots of people that went, and whether that's Dutch fans or whoever, Austria is a very forward-thinking country. It's not like, you're not in, I don't know, we don't need to name a country, but you're not in a country, say, that has very different, like, Western views. Austria is a forward-thinking country. So I don't think so. I think unfortunately, it's a minority of fans that are just like hooligans, and they just think they're these big brutes or whoever. But equally, it could be anybody. It's not necessarily just men. It could also be women. Who knows? But I think the point was there were lots of issues at that race, and hopefully they can identify some of the perpetrators and bring them to justice. But the trouble is, when you have hundreds of reports of people being abused and that sort of thing, it's very hard to whittle down to very specific people. But I just hope that they can actually identify some of the people and ban them. Really, that's all they can do.
So what is going to happen now?
Well, the investigation takes place, Hope, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, they will announce something at some point. I'm sure they will make, I'm sure through all the CCTV footage they've got on different victims they'll be able to speak to, I'm sure eventually they will be able to find some of the people that caused some of the atrocities at this event. But we'll have to wait and see. I really don't know. I mean, it could go... Well, I'm really not sure. They won't ban the ring. I don't think they'd say, right, we're not having the race there again. I think if something awful had happened, like someone was killed, they might do that. But because it was, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And who won the race?
Charles Leclerc won the race.
And moving on this week, Lewis, to story number 3.
Yes. Now, this is quite a fun story, I hope, and I really enjoyed reading this today. It was quite a fun little thing that I picked up on from a couple of papers. We're going to talk about a young lad. I shouldn't really say young because he is an absolute frigging beast. We're talking about a 14-year-old.
He can still be young and be a beast.
Yeah, but as in, when you see the size of him, Hope, you won't think he's young. We're talking about a 14-year-old called Tyler Parker. And to get Hope's reaction now, I want you to just stay there. This is Tyler Parker.
Oh my goodness. He's 14.
He's 6 foot tall. He weighs 134 kilos. He can bench press 136 kilos and deadlift 188. He's currently, he's going viral on social media. He's an American football player because he is an absolute unit.
I mean, 6 foot is tall, but in terms of that muscle, like he's going to look stocky, isn't he? Because he's like not like 6'4", where he can stretch it all out. He's just going to be.
Hope he is. I want you to guess as well, right? So he's basically blowing up. And we'll go into all the ins and outs of him in just a second. But I want you to guess how many followers he has on Instagram, and bearing in mind he's 14.
Oh, I don't want to shoot too high. 180k.
Okay. He has 462,000 followers. So. Tyler Parker.
14! I can't get over the 14 bit.
You just wait for it. It will just get better. So he attends It's called the Santa Margarita Catholic High School. So he lives in LA. He's from LA, and he also is part of a NFL like placement program too. Now his coach has said he will be the number one defensive tackle in the class of 2025. So he's not going to play NFL for a good couple of years, really. So he's a DT, a defensive tackle. What that means is, Hope, even if, and this is for Sports for Dummies here, we're going right to Sports for Dummies term.
Yep, that's what we got to do. Look, that's what we do, Lewis. You've got to dumb it down.
Always. Now, for the visual listeners watching on YouTube, I'm sure we'll be able to slot in a picture here of what this looks like. But Hope, he is one of the guys that basically does all the defending. So he's the guy, one of the big dudes that stands at the front for the defensive team. So let's say you're attacking right now and you're going to throw the ball. His job is to get you. So I basically just have to run into you and get the ball. Scary. Yeah. Hope, when you watch videos of him on Twitter and wherever on Instagram, like he literally bulldozes people his age.
It's like a pit bull.
He is an absolute friggin' monster. It is unbelievable. And there's currently there is a player. So there's a man called why does he keep disappearing? Right. So the best player currently, Hope, in the NFL, or one of the best players, is also a defensive tackle. He is heavier currently than one of the best players of all time in the NFL. And we don't need to go into details of that. But basically, the point is, this guy is going to be an absolute monster. If he grows any more, as in if he puts on, say, any other inches of height, and bearing in mind he's 14 and he's 6 foot, if he can get to 6'3" and 150 kilos...
Yeah, he's going to get taller.
He is going to be a scary, scary player.
Because I think it's that women stop growing at 18, but men don't stop growing till they're 21.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, I haven't grown since I was like 16, but I'm very like
I haven't grown since I was 12.
No, exactly. But but you put on like tiny little bits. There are some dudes though that shoot up, and imagine as well. This is the sort of thing.
But what if he shoots up and gets lanky?
But Hope, being 134 kilos, I just think he would then just turn into an absolute, like, he would just be enormous. And the thing is, and we'll have to wait and see, you never know, he might have a massive growth spurt and he might, I don't know, his balance of his muscles might disappear. But the point is, he right now is huge.
I'm imagining like Terry Crews. Do you reckon bigger than Terry Crews?
I don't know how much Terry Crews lifts. But his neck, like, honestly, as you'll see in the screenshot that we'll put in, I have never seen a neck in my life bigger than that.
Imagine buying shirts.
No, look at the size of his, like, he's like a tree trunk. He is he's insane. And the thing I hope as well, and we won't go into the ins and outs of NFL because it all gets complicated, but what I will say is the speed of him, he is running, like the speed at which he runs is abnormally quick for the size that he is. Like one of his highlight packages actually...
Are they apple bottom jeans?
I tell you what, of all the... No, John, that actually wasn't... That was... I'll get that to you. That was actually quite impressive. I'll give you that.
Was it?
I'll give it a 6. The thing is, it made me chuckle inside. It was quite clever.
I mean, it was super cringe.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm all about. Do you know what I mean?
It's like dad jokes, exactly. Or mum jokes. But yeah, one of his highlight packages was actually so good, it caught the attention of a 6-time Pro Bowler. So basically one of the GOATs of the last decade, who was the same position as him. And he said, in shorts and T-shirt, he looks like a beast. Need to see him in pads, though. Could be special. Now, Hope, aged 14 already, bearing in mind he's still at school, he has had offers from the Arizona Wildcats, Portland State, Incarnate World, Louisiana State University. They're just a few of the universities to name that have already contacted him about having him on their university placements in years to come. So this kid could be very, very special.
I'm just thinking about his poor mum and dad, like their food cupboards. Because he must get through a lot of food.
Dude must eat a lot of food. But equally, he must train a lot too.
When my brother was living here when he was a teenager, my dad used to go nuts because you've eaten all the yogurts again! Like that. So my brother was eating yogurts. My brother was not like that.
No.
So I can't imagine how much cereal this guy's getting through yogurts.
Oh, the calorie intake must be absolutely bonkers. Yeah, it would be scary.
Did you know that if you're at 2 years of age, if you measure a child at 2 years of age, I think it's like double that height is how tall they're going to be as a full-grown adult.
Wait. Measuring a 2-year-old?
Yeah, a 2-year-old. So my niece, for example, she's 2.
Oh, I see what
If
you
you
mean.
measure how tall she is, she's going to be that doubled as an adult. So her size is going to be, we've worked out, 5'3".
But I guess there are some things that aren't right. Like there are some dudes that you meet that are like one of the smallest guys in my year back in the school. Shout out to Johnny. He now is huge. Like there are people that just randomly all of a sudden at 16 or 17 or however old.
Yeah, but he might have been tall when he was younger before you knew him. Like tall for his age.
He was tiny throughout his whole. I promise you, throughout our schooling life, he was absolutely tiny.
I'm going to Google this because that is a fact. ×2 method. A simple method to predict adult height is to double the child's height at age 2. Girls develop more quickly, so doubling their height at 18 months old can also be used as an estimate of how tall they'll be as adults.
Well, there you go. Well, I mean, little Tyler Parker, so going off that metric, right?
Yeah, so he could be even tall. Don't know how tall he.
Little Parker could have been massive at age 2, and he might be even bigger. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's very interesting though. But let's just wait and see. I mean, it's kind of this is one for the future. But if you do want to go check out his Instagram, go check it out. I'm sure you'll be able to find it, Tyler Parker. He's an absolute monster. And if you want to watch his videos and get very, very excited or scared, I don't know which word you'd use because he's going to be very good if he gets to the NFL. He's going to be amazing, and he's definitely a player to keep tabs on for the future.
Tyler Parker, watch out. Not that I'm going to come get you, Tyler Parker. I mean, like, watch out for him with your eyes peeled, as Lewis likes to do.
Eyes on the prize. Tyler Parker. Well, everyone, that wraps up this episode for today. If you have enjoyed listening, please do leave us a review or a like on YouTube if you're on YouTube there. Thanks very much for listening. As always, we'll be back next week. And share this with your friends. People that haven't listened, if you have listened as well today and you found something cool, let us know. Or equally, if you have a story for us and we haven't told it, please do tell us.
Yeah, I like the idea of sharing. Maybe just share this with one person and we'd be very grateful. And you can even email us if you want us. Give us a message. We can give you a shout out. sportsfordummiespodcast@gmail.com. Tell us how your week's going, what you're up to, anything at all, and we will yell you out. Also, a quick reminder that we have got that little collection pot. As always, there's no pressure with that at all. But we know that a lot of podcasts have like a Patreon page where you can give some money or like certain subscriptions. I don't even know. If you think you want to give us 5p, you can. We'd be very grateful.
We would. And that would really go a long way at the end of the year. So please, if you are willing to give us money, that would really mean the world. Thank you so much. But yeah, for everyone on Sports Dummies, hope lots of love. We'll catch you all next week for another big episode 4.
Woohoo!